Ladies and gents, boys and girls, welcome to tonight's presentation on sleep. And as I said there, it's just not a time machine to breakfast. And this is to go hand in hand with Module 3 that some of you will have already seen, listened to, taken notes, acted upon. But this is an addition, this is a rehash of some of that stuff. It's very important to go over some of these topics and some new advanced stuff. So if you listen to this for the first time, awesome. If this is the second time, that's awesome too. You're always going to learn. So please take a few notes. We'll look at some questions afterwards for those that guys are on live call. For those that are going to get the recording, take a few notes and come back to me anytime you need to. So first of all, let's look at what a lack of sleep can do. And I know that we all know this, or we all know that sleep is very good for us, but do we really know the actual implications of not getting sleep? I would go to say that getting good quality sleep is the number one thing that you can do for your mental, physical, and emotional health. I truly believe that it will trump good nutrition, exercise, and all the other things that we could add in to making up a complete package of health and fitness. Because everything starts with sleep. If sleep is terrible, the chances of you making good decisions when it comes to emotional, mental health, and even going to the gym or doing any type of exercise are severely diminished. So you have to take care of the basics before you can look at all the extras. And that's what most people tend not to have. They focus on the newest gym gear, the newest supplement, and a crazy workout and this amazing diet, and they haven't addressed the basics. And sleep is the number one basic that we can look at. If you just some basic stats on this, and if you get poor sleep, it will actually suppress your immune system, and it doubles your risk of cancer across all forms. And the World Health Organization, that's the WHO, has actually stated that shift work, anyone that's working shifts into the nights, different things like that, or there's someone that's sleeping very, very badly, poorly, it's a carcinogen risk, which means there's a high rate of cancer. And it's not just studies have shown that. The World Health Organization actually putting that on their manifesto. Poor sleep will definitely lead to a high risk of cancer, increased risk of Alzheimer's, stroke, and ADHD, which is heart disease. And importantly, referring to exactly what we're looking at, which is fat loss and trying to lose weight, it messes with your hormones, leptin and ghrelin. And again, see the module where I talk about leptin and ghrelin. Leptin and ghrelin, two very important hormones when it comes to appetite. Leptin is our satiety hormone and ghrelin is our hunger hormone. Bad sleep will increase leptin and decrease ghrelin, which means you're going to always never feel satisfied and always feel hungry, which is an absolute recipe for a disaster when it comes to losing weight, I'm sure you can imagine. When you sleep badly, you generally have less energy in the day. Less energy will automatically mean less movement, which means you may not do your planned exercise session, and you'll definitely just do less, even when it comes to moving your hands, moving your head. They've even shown that people that sleep badly will even blink less the next day because the body's way of trying to conserve energy. The less movement means less steps, which means less calories burned in a 24-hour period, which over time will lead to less fat loss. So it's not the lack of sleep that causes you to burn less body fat, it's the knock-on effects. And that's just some of them. I could literally have spent the whole presentation talking about what lack of sleep wouldn't do. But let's look at this in a more positive light. That's where we are. But before we get into that, there's a couple of books that I want to share with you. And these are two books that I've personally read. The first one, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. It is probably the most jaw-dropping book that I've ever read. It's the only book I can recall where I've read it and I've gone, oh my God, I can't believe that's the truth. And it's fascinating about why we sleep, how much we need, what interferes with it. And we're going to touch on some of those things tonight. And that's a really great book, I recommend. And another one by a guy called Sean Stevenson, who's a big podcast guy that I follow. And his book, which is a #1 bestseller, Amazon, everything else, called Sleep Smarter. Very similar, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Matthew Walker is actually a scientist. So it's written in quite a geeky way, but lots of facts, and it's not written that user-friendly, long paragraphs. It clearly written by a scientist. Sleep Smarter has been written by an entrepreneur podcast guy, so it's probably easier digestible. But both excellent books. I recommend you look at Why We Sleep first, then Sleep Smarter. So let's look at some basic things that disrupt sleep. And again, you guys will know a lot of this from previous modules and the things that we've talked about, but it's always great to go over this, because even as I put this slide together, I thought, you know what, I'm not even doing all of these as much as I could. So first of all, let's look at your diet. Coffee, we all know, is a stimulant. It's a great stimulant. I'm a big fan of coffee. However, caffeine's got a half-life of about 6 hours. And what that means is, let's say you had a coffee with 200 milligram caffeine. 6 hours later, 100 milligram is still present in the blood, which means if you're a light sleeper or you're a poor sleeper, that's going to cause you problems. So I suggest that people ideally have no more than 2, max 3 coffees a day, and the last one before 2 p.m. And that would, caffeine will be out of your blood system by 8 p.m. So if you're sleeping at 10, 11, whatever, it's unlikely to cause you a problem. Again, some people aren't sensitive, but if you're drinking a coffee at 5 p.m. and you're not getting a buzz from it, it's probably wise that you come off the coffee, because you become desensitized to it. So the whole point of taking coffee, yeah, it tastes good if you like coffee, but it's to get some type of metabolic effect. And if you're drinking too much of it, your body will get used to it. So maybe come off the coffee. That's coffee. Alcohol. It's annoying because most of us tend to drink, if you're going to have a couple of drinks, it tends to be after dinner or with dinner, 7, 8, 9 p.m. A couple of hours before sleep, it's really going to interfere with your sleep patterns. And the problem is not falling asleep, is you fall asleep because you're sedated rather than actually falling asleep naturally because your body has said, I need sleep. So there's a difference between sedation. Now, what happens with sedation is you feel like you've got a good sleep, but you've never actually gone into a deep restorative sleep. You've never gone below a certain level in sleep cycle. In fact, you've only just gone into REM, which is rapid eye movement, which is what you get when you're coming out of sleep, in the lighter stages of sleep, early in the morning when you start to dream. So you never fall into that deep restorative sleep. So you wake up and you feel very tired, which means you make poor food choices with food. So not only are you getting excess calories at night, which are no good to anybody, you make poor choices the next day because of the alcohol in your system, because of the lack of sleep, interfering with those hormones, leptin and ghrelin. Late night eating. This for me personally is not a problem, but I do know a lot of people that have a meal, a rich meal, maybe with lots of carbs, lots of fats, and again, tend to go with alcohol within a couple of hours of going to bed, will interfere with some people's sleep. Not everyone. I personally could eat a massive meal and go straight to bed. It actually makes me more tired. And however, am I getting the best quality sleep? Probably not. Maybe I think I am, but I'm probably not. So avoid late night eating. So have your dinner slightly earlier. Again, if sleep is a factor, or bad sleep is a factor. Stress. We all know, we all have stress. Okay, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. We could spend a whole hour on stress, but we all know that we should try and eliminate stress. And there's good stress and there's bad stress. I mean, if you're not getting a certain amount of stress from work, family, or life, your life's pretty boring. So I'd really probably look at that. If you've got literally stress-free, you're not moving forward on any one of those levels. But it's not necessarily the stress, it's how we perceive the stress and how do we react with it, and how have we got any techniques that can actually help us minimize the impact. You know, you can be really very busy at work, but if you've got strategies in place that will actually help you wind down, that don't involve alcohol, then it's not necessarily the actual stress, it's how you deal with it, and also the perceived stress. You know some people that just tend to get very stressed easily, and other people with the same stress load just tend to deal with things. It's the same stress. It's how the individual perceives it. So we want to look at ways to reducing your own personal level of stress, and that can come in many forms. This is the big one, that things really disrupt people's sleep, especially in the modern day and age. Blue light from your laptop, phone, TV, and this will massively interfere with the production of melatonin. Now, melatonin is our sleep hormone, which is released from the pineal gland, which sits right in the middle of your brain. If you were to tap your forehead right now, it's right back there. Now, it's stimulated when it starts to get dark. It's very clever. You don't have to think about it. As soon as it starts to get dark outside, or if you're in a dark room, the curtains are drawn, your body starts to release melatonin. Now, unfortunately, the blue light from all our devices is artificial. Even normal lights in the living room, in the dining room, kitchen, they can interfere. So you want to think about turning those lights down, or use some blue light blocking glasses. You may have seen a video that I did on LinkedIn where I'm wearing these orange glasses that look like Bono. Yeah, you look a bit of a dickhead, but that will actually block out the blue light. Failing that, maybe shut that laptop an hour before you go to bed, turn your phone off, put it on aeroplane mode, read a book, talk to your husband or your wife, heaven forbid, have some sex, do any of the things, but get off your screens. Again, I don't always do this. I know what's best, but I'm not always doing this. You know, I would be a liar if I said I'd turn my phone off an hour before I go to bed. I did it for a couple of months, you know, and it was really good. I felt really good. I just slowly got that habit, and I'll check my LinkedIn, I'll check my emails very quickly. Fortunately, touch wood, I'm a very, very good sleeper. Doesn't seem to affect me. I'm feeling great the next day. But if you're a poor sleeper, these are the things that are going to interfere with you. So it may be something to look at, something to address, maybe one or all of those things, or some of them, but it's definitely worth looking at. So they're the things that disrupt sleep. Okay, let's assume you've had a bad night's sleep. So rather than looking at the benefits and what we can do, let's just look at how we could actually stop, you know, having the worst day, mitigate the damage. So the next morning, you wake up, you had a terrible night's sleep for whatever reason. Alcohol, too much food, maybe you're up in the night, maybe the children disturbed you, and your sleep was compromised. Have a lot of good quality water the next day with a splash of sea salt. Very, very good. And I mentioned this in one of the modules about being hydrated. 2 to 3 litres every day for most people is a great, if you're working out hard, you're in a hot climate, go to 3 litres. I'm not sure that is in ounces, but it's quite a lot. Okay, minimum 2 litres. All of you should be drinking 2 litres of water. And again, if you're working out, hot climate, go to 3. Splash of sea salt in there, a pinch of sea salt. It shouldn't taste salty, but just get some good quality sea salt, maybe some Malden sea salt, or any decent sea salt off Amazon for a couple of quid, a couple of bucks. Sprinkle it into your bottle, and it will help you retain the water. So the more fluids you can get back into you, you're going to help your brain feeling the effects of having a poor night's sleep. Okay. Now, contrary to what you want to do, this is the time not to have 3 or 4 coffees, because when you're sleep deprived, having more than 2 coffees can actually make you feel more tired. One is a funny thing that it does with the brain. It can actually have a reverse effect, but because you are feeling tired, you'll probably have 3 or 4, which means you're going to have more caffeine in your blood. And if you come 4 p.m., you have that caffeine, it could then affect your sleep. So you get that vicious cycle. So you want to try and break the cycle. So if you're having 3 coffees on a day that you're not feeling it, and you really get a bad night's sleep the night before, just go to 2. It's going to be hard because your body's crying out for 4, but just maybe reduce the caffeine, or have it even earlier, maybe finish it by 12 p.m., noon. So your caffeine's out of your system come 10, 11 p.m. Okay, move your arse in the sun. Now, if you're in the UK or the rest of Northern Europe, look, we get what we're given when it comes to the sun. But if you're in America and certainly California, Florida, where some of my clients are, lucky bastards, you guys get sun 340 days of the year, and you actually get 3 months of a real summer. The best thing you can do to mitigate the damage of a poor night's sleep is to get out as soon as the sun rises. It's the best sun. Go and gaze at the sun. Get out. It's going to sound a bit woo-woo. If you can, take your shoes and socks off and put your feet on the concrete ground. I'm going to talk about grounding in a bit. And look at the sun and get some natural sunlight into you. It's one of the best things for waking up your metabolism, everything. Just Google that. Just getting in the sun first thing in the morning, one of the best things. And it not only will it affect you in a positive way from the previous bad night's sleep, it'll actually help you get a good night's sleep tonight or the night in question. So that's a great little tip. We get what we're given here, so it's unlikely that we can do that often. Okay. Eat lots of protein the next day, which is perfect because this is what I'm telling you guys to do in terms of burning body fat. 2 grams of protein per kilo of intended body weight. So for most of you, that's 120, 140, even 160 to 180 grams per day. It's a lot of protein, but it's one of the best things you can have. And keep your fats low the next day. We want to have the system working very, very nicely. We don't need to overload the system with fat. Now, I actually learned something today. I'm not going to lie. I could have said, I went into this presentation, said, you know what, I could pretend I know what that word or orexin was or meant. And it wasn't. When I was researching some of these slides, I found this. It's actually a neuropeptide that is released in our brain that can actually help us get to sleep. And this comes from having a high protein diet. And I hold my hand up. I didn't know that. So I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm learning all the time. So I'm passing that on to you guys. So high protein, low fat the day after a poor night's sleep is going to help mitigate. The neuropeptide orexin is going to be released, and it will help with melatonin, all the other hormones that help us get to sleep. Okay. Supplements, 2 great supplements that can help on the next day. 100 milligram activated charcoal and 100 milligram of curcumin, which is because I've lost turmeric extract. Okay, so supplement those the day, and that can help you mitigate the damage on a poor night's sleep. Okay, now let's flip it around. Let's look at how to get a great sleep, or how to get great sleep. First of all, from a nutrition perspective, we want to eat some sleep-enhancing foods. Cold water fish, so you're looking at things like salmon, herring, mackerel, sardines, all these types of fish. You usually get in cans, but get fresh if you can. They're very high in vitamin D and omega-3, which will help produce the chemical or the neurotransmitter serotonin, which gives us a nice, relaxed, sleepy feeling. Serotonin is released when you eat certain foods. If you've had a high carb meal at lunch and you get that nice, I could fall asleep in my chair feeling, that's serotonin actually released in the gut, and that's why you get that really nice feeling. But omega-3 massively in those cold water fish, and that can help produce, or at least make serotonin. Okay, we want to give the body the best chance of being able to produce these hormones. Dark berries and cherries can increase melatonin. We talked about what will stop your body producing melatonin. So let's look at natural ways of how we increase that. Dark berries and cherries, cherry juice as well. And there was a study that showed 2 kiwis before bed can actually increase sleep quantity and quality. Now, I've tried the cold water fish, omega-3s, dark berries and cherries to increase melatonin. I've never actually tried personally 2 kiwis an hour before bed, but this is what the study showed. And from what I saw in the study, it was a study that was ranked fairly highly. So the data is good. Try it. Something in kiwi can help you sleep. Moving on from that, have a light dinner. We've talked about having heavy carbs, heavy fat, heavy anything in the evening can affect you if you're affected that way. So have a light dinner. High calories can spike your glucose, which is just your blood sugar. And when you spike your blood sugar too high, your body will release insulin from the pancreas, which is a fat storage hormone. It won't make you fat, but it can make you sleepy because invariably it will take your blood sugar below where it's meant to be. So you can get that insulin, what we call insulin crash. Blood sugar goes up, your body comes back down. So you get that yo-yo effect. Okay, it's not the same for everyone. As I said, I actually welcome that insulin crash sometimes. 9, 10 p.m. makes me quite sleepy, and I sleep well on a large meal, but other people are different. We talked about getting high protein, but there's also another reason why protein is very good. So adequate protein releases tryptophan. which is found in things like turkey, chicken, eggs, things like that. Now, tryptophan is a precursor to serotonin. Serotonin will help you make melatonin. They are sleepy hormones, which we want to release. So getting a small amount of serotonin, a small amount of melatonin, which is a hormone in the pineal gland, and it will help us get to sleep. So for some people, instead of having a massive high carb, high sugar, heavy meal, maybe have a slow release carbs, things like oats, legumes, sweet potato. They're very, very good for getting a little bit of serotonin and getting a nice, healthy sleep. And again, limit the high fat and the rich foods, which is linked through to point number 1. Some supplements that we want to look at, that you could look at. You might necessarily need all of these. We could try these individually. I've actually used all of these. Actually use all of them at the moment, and I'll explain. Tryptophan, we talked, you can actually supplement tryptophan. If you guys are getting your 120, 140 plus grams of protein, it's unlikely that you would need to supplement tryptophan. But if for some reason, maybe a vegan or vegetarian was struggling with their sleep and they weren't getting the protein that I believe we need for optimal function and burning body fat, they may benefit from supplementing tryptophan. Multivitamin mineral supplementation that's the multi, and one that is highly concentrated with the B complex vitamins. Things like niacin and all the other B complex vitamins can really, really help with switching the nervous system off. And that's kind of what magnesium and zinc does. Magnesium is one of the best things for switching the nervous system off and just letting everything relax. And a lot of people that can't seem to switch that off if they're stressed or they're working out hard, their brain's running over and over again. It doesn't seem to switch off. So magnesium has got a very, very nice calming effect on the muscles. So it might be worth looking at. Melatonin, we talked about the natural production melatonin, which is great, but you can actually supplement it. And I'm going to talk about jet lag at the end of this presentation, and that's more will help with the jet lag protocol. I don't recommend supplementation of melatonin on a daily basis. Use it sparingly because it is still a hormone and we produce it. Now, the problem is if you supplement with it too often and rely on it, your body can actually limit its own production of melatonin, which is not what we want. So your own production can become down-regulated, and that's not what we want. It's a hormone that's important. Better to stimulate it by not looking at your screen, turning the lights down, getting a nice, cool, calming effect in your bedroom. That's going to release melatonin. You may not need to supplement. So use it for a jet lag protocol, and I'm going to talk to you about that in a bit. Vitamin D, and again, another important hormone. It's probably easier to say what vitamin D doesn't help with, but it's absolutely needed for a good night's sleep. I would hazard a guess that 95 to 99% of the people that live in Europe, Northern Europe at least, or Eastern Europe, Russia, across there, are absolutely deficient in vitamin D. They even tested some football players in Spain, and they were still vitamin D deficient. To get the full amount of vitamin D from the sunlight, you need ideally 1 hour of full exposure of sun to the full body, which means you need to go and sunbathe naked on your roof, if that's possible. Now, probably everyone listening to this call, it's not going to be possible. But if it was, that would be the best way. Get out in natural sunlight. So you can see, even someone that lives in a hot country, especially if it's too hot, especially when you get in aircon and you're inside a lot of time, maybe they're leaving from the house to go to the office and then come back home, you might not be getting a full hour. So even in very hot climates, very sunny climates, most people are deficient. So the recommended daily amount for optimal levels, not to survive, optimal, is 2,000 to 4,000 IUs per day. And you can get tablets that are 2,000 IUs. I take 2 tablets of vitamin D a day, 4,000 IUs. Okay, here's the last one. Now, you're probably seeing, why is Gav talking about THC oil? Isn't that what's in cannabis? And you're absolutely right, it is. Now, I want to recommend this if the country you're in or the state you're in is legalizing cannabis. And I know if you're in California listening to this, this is going to be perfect for you. You can go into a shop, you can buy joints, you can buy grass, marijuana, all the edibles. Over in the UK, I believe that the smoking of marijuana or grass, whatever you want to call it, is illegal at the moment. I think you're allowed a small personal amount. I don't smoke marijuana. I just want to let you know that. I've smoked it once in my life and it just wasn't for me. However, I'd been looking at CBD oil and THC oil, which is the two components of the oil of the endocannabinoid system, which is how it acts on the body. So that is the THC oil, CBD is the two parts of marijuana. Now, the CBD is the one that can maybe help with anxiety, and helping people relax, but it's usually not that strong. The most powerful part of that is THC oil. Now, I do believe that pure THC oil could be illegal in the UK. I'm not sure, but I'll let you know I've actually been experimenting with this for the last 3 or 4 days, and literally a drop of the oil about the size of a grain of rice. I don't feel high, just feel very alert, awake, reasonably chatty, and it's relaxing me. So I'm taking it in the evening and I'm sleeping very well. So, of course, I'm not saying go and take this. If you're in the UK, please abide by our laws, or if you want to bypass that, either move to California or Colorado or a few other states I know that have legalized this, which it rightly should be, because it is a very, very beneficial medicinal plant that can help a lot of people with a lot of problems, but we're not going to get into that. But in the UK at the moment, I do believe this is illegal. So do not take my advice. I'm just saying I've tried it and it's been excellent. I don't struggle with sleep, but I can really imagine that if someone did, it would be something that I would look at. So there we are. That's the supplement side of things. Okay, some extra tips. Magnesium salt bath. We talked about magnesium in a supplement form, but if you an Epsom salt baths, magnesium salt baths. Epsom salts you can just buy off Amazon. Google Epsom salts, any natural magnesium, natural salts, tip a load into the bath, have a massive soak. All the magnesium soaks into your muscles and you get out and you feel like you could just fall asleep. That's a very, very good tip. Now, contrary to that, so have a hot bath with magnesium salt, but if you're struggling to get to sleep, you actually want to be very cool. We sleep best when we're at 18 degrees. So for some people that they run hot or they've come out of the bath, you might want to have a cold shower before bed. Sometimes a really good tactic on a hot day, go and have a really cold shower before bed and push it, get very, very cold. Great little hack is the chili pad. Go to Chili Technology and it's like a cooling system. It's like a light blanket and a light sheet that goes over the top of you, and they run cool water. You can actually set the temperature, and you can even do it so just one person in the bed, if your husband or wife doesn't want to have that, and you can set it to your perfect temperature. So it's amazing. If you're struggling, it can be one of the best things, because most people's rooms are far too hot. They have the heating on, or they haven't got the right aircon. 18 degrees is actually quite chilly. It means window open and feeling quite a cool breeze. So go and check out the chili pad. I personally haven't used that, but I know a lot of people that have, and the reviews are amazing. As I said, I don't need it, but it could be something to look at. Meditation. I've tried meditation. I tried it for about 3 or 4 months, and I just fell out of the habit. I probably know that I should get back into it. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say this is something I do for great sleep, but I know it can help a lot of people. In fact, a good friend of mine, Harry, swears by it. He struggled with his sleep, and he does a quick 5 to 10 minute guided meditation on one of the apps like Calm or Headspace on his iPhone. And he said it's been an amazing thing for him. I will add, he has been adding in a drop of THC oil with his meditation, and he's been sleeping 8 hours like a baby. Up to you whether you try that option. I mentioned the grounding. If you can, every day, stand on the pavement on the road without your socks on. It's going to sound a bit woo-woo, but it's one of the best things to reset your circadian rhythm, which is our internal clock. The magnetic force from the Earth's core will come up. I know it sounds woo-woo. It does, even saying it to you, but it's true. studies have shown that it really, really does work. So when people say they're grounding, it's true. It's a phenomena, but it's very, very true. Try it. Shoes and socks off, get out on the grass, on the concrete, can help grounding. These are all tips that you may want to look at and add in to your routine, your sleep sort of routine. Okay, last slide, guys. Quickly on jet lag, top tips. I used to suffer quite badly from jet lag. Going west coast from London, so London to LA or San Diego, which I've flown quite a few times now. I think it's a 10-hour flight to LA. And you arrive at midnight UK time and it's only 2 p.m. in the afternoon. That's a bitch. You've got to try and stay up till at least 9, 10 p.m. Jet lag is a real thing. A couple of some people just don't get it, but for most of us, most human beings, we suffer with jet lag. But one of the best tactics, and everything I've done here, everything I've mentioned here, I've actually done, apart from the oxytocin nasal spray, which we'll get to, but fasting on the flight, eat nothing, apart from lots of water. It's very, very hard mentally, but digestion is one of the most expensive processes in the body. And when you go up into at the height of the plane, 36,000 feet, they're obviously pumping out oxygen. So it's a very fake environment. The digestion really slows down. So what most people do is they eat breakfast before they leave for the flight. Then they eat some crap at the airport. Then they eat the 3 meals that they provide you on a 10-hour flight. And it's junk food. And hey, I'm on holiday, vacation, whatever. So you eat a load of junk. You get there, and you then got to add half a day on. So you massively overeat. You don't need to fill yourself up with crap in 10 hours. So fast. Only have water. I found this to be a really, really great technique. Now, it goes hand in hand with doing some exercise at the place of arrival. So if you get off the flight, if you're coming from LA or San Fran to London or vice versa, the last thing you want to do is go and do 15, 20 minutes of light exercise. Even with a walk or a few press-ups or some lunges, getting your blood pumping is one of the best things to do to reset that circadian rhythm. So despite wanting to do it, I always try and do it. I get off the flight, I check in, go to the gym just for half an hour, or do some body weight stuff in the room, jump around, don't go to bed, don't go and drink alcohol, okay? No stimulants on the flight. That means no alcohol and no coffee. Look, I know I'm saying life's going to be a bit boring for most of you, but if jet lag is something you want to avoid, it used to get me 4 or 5 days. It'd be really, really bad. So it's worth me looking at some of these ideas. So no stimulants on the flight. Take melatonin at 10 p.m. of the arrival. So let's say you arrive in LA, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You're going to wait another 6 to 8 hours before you go to bed. Push through, set your watch to the local time, forget that it's 6 o'clock in the morning, pop 3 to 5 milligrams of melatonin, which is 1 or 2 tablets, go to bed, and it can help. On the flight, drink 3 to 5 litres of water on a long haul flight. That's a lot of water. And you're going to be up and down to the toilet, put some sea salt in there. That will stop that. So book an aisle seat if you can, or at least the middle if you're in a couple, and you can get up. But you will be peeing a lot. But it does massively help. You get so dehydrated. I think the research is showing that if you need 2 litres of water at sea level on land, you need double the amount at 36,000 feet because of the oxygen being pumped into the cabin. So 3 to 5 litres, depending on what you're drinking when you're not on a flight. Cold shower on arrival. So you fast, no stimulants, exercise, then you could do your cold shower before you go to bed, pop your melatonin. Great little effects. No booze that night, so go for dinner. Don't have any alcohol. I know it's the first night of your holiday, your vacation. Sulfur-rich foods, things like onions, garlic. Probably not the best thing to have, but very, very helpful in terms of jet lag. And this is a new one. Again, oxytocin, we all know what oxytocin is. It's that love hormone, the cuddle hormone. You get it when you shake someone's hand, very small amounts. When you give someone that you love a cuddle or you hug them, you release oxytocin. And it's released when women are breastfeeding, when they're giving birth, when they're looking after children. So women tend to have more oxytocin than men, as a rule. Not everyone, as a rule, generally. But you can get an oxytocin nasal spray, a couple of sprays up each nostril before you go to bed, with all those things will really, really help the jet lag. So I said I've tried all of those apart from the oxytocin, and my jet lag is massively reduced to the point where I know that I've got a little bit of jet lag, but it's not causing me a problem. Previously, 3 or 4 days, I'd be dropping off at 11 o'clock in the morning and then absolutely knackered at 9 p.m. at night, just couldn't keep my eyes out, and it would really affect me badly on the way back. I've implemented these points and it's really, really made a big difference. So that's the end of the presentation, guys. I hope I've showed you, one, how important sleep is, how to mitigate the day or the damage of having a poor night's sleep. Some great tips to getting a great night's sleep, and also some awesome tips to avoid jet lag. If you're watching this live, I hope you've taken some great notes. If you listen to the recording anytime in the future, hope you enjoyed this, hope you've taken a lot from this. Take as many notes as you can, rewatch the presentation, take more notes, and pick 3 to 5 things that you can implement into your routine. That's the way. There's a lot of information there, and you're not going to go and do all of them. But even if you did 1 or 2 things in the next 2 weeks to a month, if you're affected by poor sleep, it could massively change. So pick a couple of things, take action, and here's to wishing you the perfect night's sleep.